Well, good Monday morning to you. Welcome to our Monday morning live edition of the Doctor's Nutrition Show. I'm your host, Jim Tabor, along with Drs. Jim and Janine Fox from Doctor's Nutrition, located on Cal and Lorraine Road in Gulfport, just south of Pass Road. If you're just tuning in for the first time, we do this every Monday morning, and it is a live call-in show, which we invite you to call in and ask questions regarding our topic of the morning, or anything that regarding your health, or maybe someone that is close to you is having some health issues, because the show is all about helping you live a healthier lifestyle. Our phone lines are 896-0713 or 800-349-0713. No, we won't put you on the air. Just call in your question and pass it along to our producer, and they will pass it along to us. So we're talking about something that it's been a while since we talked about, but more people have it than you can actually realize, and that is leaky gut. That sounds gross.
Don't know. Well, I mean, if you think about it, our gut normally leaks a little bit, if you will, because as we eat food, it's digested, and if it's digested well enough and down into small enough particles, then it actually goes through the gut wall into the portal system, into the
nourishes
blood.
The body.
Yeah, I mean, it goes into the body, right? I mean, like it's supposed to be. When we say leaky gut, we're talking about the lining of the gut has what we call a tight junction. These little, cells they're not grown together. They actually just bump up against each other, and there's a tight junction there. It's what they call the tight junction. And there's a lot of proteins and so on that actually keep that junction tight so that big particles can't get through. Small stuff can get through, the small, really digested foods.
The nutrients.
Nutrients, right. Now, the problem you get into is when we have leaky gut, then bigger particles that aren't quite digested as well as they should have been yet, maybe a little too early, that kind of thing. And when that happens, now we've got stuff going through the intestinal wall, into the portal system, into the bloodstream. And these particles are big proteins, chunks of proteins and so on, and toxins and all kind of stuff. And they can actually cause a lot of really bad adverse problems to the body.
Yeah, the body sees it as invaders.
Yeah.
And so then you have an immune response, and that's where most of it starts, is the immune response.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
So leaky gut is something that, for years ago, people were like, leaky gut, there ain't nothing to that. But there's been a lot of research. And
now, is there a difference between leaky gut and irritable bowel syndrome?
No, that's part of that. That can be
irritable bowel can be a symptom.
Right?
Okay. Can be a symptom of leaky gut.
We've talked about that in the past too. About IBS, how bad it can be.
Conventional medicine. If you go to your GI doctor, they're probably, and you mentioned leaky gut, they're probably going to laugh at you. I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
Because they still don't. They don't want to talk about it. But there's enough research, like she said, that's come out. It says, wait a minute, we're actually seeing these particles and things come through the bloodstream that shouldn't be there. Gut should have kept that out. And so there's enough research to substantiate now that, if you just go into it with an open mind, looks like it's a leaky gut, if you will. And it's kind of a neat name for it, because that's what it is, kind of leaking.
I don't know if that's what you call it a neat name for it.
Well, it's a neat name. What else would you call it?
Like you said, an irritable bowel, a lot of the people that are diagnosed with irritable bowel, they've just ruled out everything else, and they say you have irritable bowel.
Right.
But you don't have to have irritable bowel to have leaky gut, but you can.
But you can.
Right.
Okay, because
So
I think of your bowels, I think of intestines.
No, that's what you're
And then I think of gut, I think of your stomach.
No, well,
we're talking about the whole GI tract. We're talking about the GI tract here.
Yeah, actually.
And when you're talking about leaky gut, you're talking more about it's more in the intestines.
Yeah, from the stomach down.
Yeah.
The stomach is kind of all the stomach is really is a mixing chamber. I mean, that's all it does. It doesn't really absorb anything. So, where food's mixed up in our stomach and it's dumped into the intestines, and the average adult humanoid has somewhere around 20-some feet, 25, 26 feet of small intestines, and 7, 8, 9, 10 feet. Some people have probably got more, but less. But of the big intestine or the large intestine, and that's where all the absorption, the digestion, absorption, and so on takes place. Is in that intestine.
I had an uncle that used to, he's a country boy. He used to, he'd sit down for lunch or dinner or whatever. He'd mix everything up together, then he'd eat it. And I asked him once, why do you do that?
It all goes the same place.
It all goes to the same place anyway. It's going to get mixed up once it gets down there. So
he was right. That's true. It all gets mixed up anyhow. So because that's what the stomach does. But this is really, we see so many, people say, well, leaky gut, you think, okay, well, I got to have gut problems. No, think about things like autoimmune problems. I mean, there's a lot of research now showing that, whoa, this can actually cause the autoimmune responses because, hey, remember those big proteins she talked about? Those proteins go through there. The immune system looks at it and says, well, this is different. And so it starts attacking it. And, oh, that cell over there, that's the same. I'll just jump on that too. And so you wind up, matter of fact, it's been linked to things like Hashimoto's. We see a lot of that. Hashimoto's, thyroiditis. We see a lot of other things. It's even been tied to rheumatoid arthritis. So yeah, I mean, this is something that you don't, and psoriasis, I mean, it's not something.
Skin issues are a big thing.
Skin issues are a big
the
thing.
Leaky gut, yeah.
So it's not something that you have to have just a gut issue. This can actually be pretty much anything. I mean,
right. Even some of the people that just say foggy brain.
Yeah.
I have a foggy brain. That could be one of the symptoms of leaky gut syndrome.
Yeah.
Now, we always talk a lot about you should drink a lot of water every day.
Correct.
Can that help prevent?
Not really.
Not really.
No.
Now it's good for you. It's good.
It's good for you.
It's good to hydrate and all that, but I've not really ever seen anything where water can help.
You mentioned how it can affect the skin. Leaky gut can affect the skin, but I'm thinking,
Now, hydration can affect the skin, and leaky gut can affect the skin, but I don't think that water actually heals the leaky gut.
Yeah.
Okay. Just learned something there. Are there medications that can contribute to leaky gut?
Oh yeah, and a lot of the things that you see people just, unfortunately, they would be classified medically as being abused. Things like your NSAIDs. You got a lot of chronic pain.
Yeah.
You take them every day, and I don't think that's necessarily abuse, but still, if you got a problem, you got to take something. And those things like that, NSAIDs are really big.
NSAIDs and antibiotics are two of the biggest classes that actually probably contribute to leaky gut.
Yeah.
And one of the, definitely another is pathogens.
Yes.
Any infection, whether it be fungal, whether it be viral, whether it be bacterial, all your different things can do it. That's one reason why antibiotics kill off all your good bacteria, and the good bacteria is what keeps everything else under control. So when you keep everything else under control and then you wiped it out, then you set up other problems. And so chronic use of that as well, which there's no doubt they know that a lot of antibiotics, I shouldn't say most, but a lot of antibiotics are unnecessary. We have constant people come in that said, oh, they said I had a virus and they prescribed this antibiotic. Well, antibiotics don't help viruses. So if you truly have a virus, an antibiotic is not the correct treatment. And then really it's just going to play havoc on your gut.
Wow. All right. It's 8 minutes after 9 o'clock. We're talking about the leaky gut problem this morning. If you have a question, pick up the phone and call us at 896-0713 or 800-349-0713. We'll take a break and we'll be back with more information about leaky gut. And welcome back. It's our Monday morning live edition of the Doctor's Nutrition Show, 10 minutes after 9 o'clock. We're talking about leaky gut. And our phone lines are open at 896-0713 or 800-349-0713. I know there has to be a lot of foods that can contribute to leaky gut. I mean, things that aggravate your digestive system.
Yeah, a lot of food. I mean, of course, public enemy number one, sugar, because it's pro-inflammatory. But a lot of other pro-inflammatory foods, and is being from the South, we love tomato sandwiches. Okay, sorry, that's just part of being in the South. But those tomatoes are part of the nightshade family. They're very pro-inflammatory. That, your peppers, et cetera, and so on. So yeah, there's a lot of foods like that.
And the bread you put it on, the gluten.
The bread you put it on. The gluten is probably one of the
biggest things that they've contributed to leaky gut, because gluten is very inflammatory and we don't digest it well. And so it can definitely cause problems.
So I'm sure adding bacon to it doesn't help.
Actually, it's more, the problem with the bacon would be the chemicals and the additives and the nitrites and all that, because the biggest enemies are the gluten, the sugar, dairy, definitely because it's a high allergen, and packaged processed foods, which is where bacon falls. It's more about it being, now if you get an organic, no chemical bacon, much better. So it really does matter about
Find you a farmer and let him raise a hog for you. And,
Well, that's
a better way of doing it.
Yeah.
That's kind of what if you're going to do it. Yeah.
If you're going to do it, that's the better way of doing it.
Done that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And there's not anything wrong with that.
So those foods, and like you said, the nightshade plants are very inflammatory. Anything that's inflammatory. Now another group of people and it's about the gluten, is celiac. People that are truly severely responding to gluten is people that are celiac. Celiac is a severe gluten allergy. And those people really have a problem with leaky gut. That's why they have so many health issues. And the number one thing, I mean, of course, if you have leaky gut, you got to get rid of what's causing it. So you got to get rid of the problems. And the toxin, I mean, toxins can do it, infections can do it, foods can do it. So there's a lot of different things that can contribute to it. And it's probably more common than you think.
That's what the research is showing.
I know y'all do food allergy testing.
We do.
Getting that done, can that help find out what
we find a lot of people that we do the food allergy food / sensitivity testing on. Once you find it out and you get correct their diet from that standpoint, a lot of those symptoms go away.
Right.
So and then you can it's help healing the gut. So
because it's the foods that your body is responding to.
Right.
Now, food allergy testing is one thing. We also have there is actually testing to see, do you have a problem with leaky gut? And there's an intestinal permeability test that we can do. There is also a stool test that we do. It's a stool test that looks even for, is there something there that shouldn't be? How is your good bacteria?
Yeah.
Do you have enough probiotics? Do you have bacteria? Do you have viruses? Do you have funguses in the intestines? Do you have inflammation in the intestines? And then there's a test called zonulin that we add to that panel that actually zonulin is produced when there is leaky gut.
Yeah, it's that what holds that tight junction together.
Yeah, it holds the tight. So when you produce too much, then it opens up and lets more things in.
Yeah.
So if you have high zonulin, it also says, okay, yeah, you have leaky gut. Now, those testing can be expensive. Sometimes, just doing stuff to help, if you have all the symptoms of leaky gut, doing some of the things that just help it might be your first step, or we can do all the testing. We can do either way.
I guess you could probably keep a diary of your own for any foods that,
Yes.
that aggravate,
And
cause you
elimination,
some issues.
Elimination diet is something also. It's hard to do, but the elimination diet is another step you can make, especially if you can't afford to do the testing for the food allergies.
I always suggest that one first, really.
Eliminate the known dairy, eggs, gluten. Those are kind of your common allergies.
The usual suspects.
And of course, packaged processed food and sugar. Eliminate all that, see if it's better. So that's what we tell people is eliminate a bunch of stuff to begin with, and then if you're still not getting better, that's when you start doing food allergies.
And that was going to be my next question. What kind of diet change did a person make, to help themselves out?
Well, that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
And of course, then the next question that we always get back from that person that we're talking about and suggesting that to, well, what am I going to eat? You just named my diet.
The low glycemic diet that y'all have, would that help out a lot?
It'll help a lot.
Well, it is a gluten-free. It doesn't eliminate dairy, but you would want to eliminate dairy. So, yeah.
Yeah, and if you're ever wondering about that, because they have the copies of that at the store. And free of charge. You go by there and just say, hey, I need a copy of your gluten-free diet. And there's a lot, you're thinking, oh man, that probably started. No, it's good. There's a lot
there's a lot of good food there.
Right, it is.
It really is. All right, we got a caller with a question. Is potatoes bad for inflammations, or is it the way they are prepared?
No, it is a nightshade plant.
It is a nightshade.
We mentioned the nightshades, and potatoes are nightshades. And so, yes, it's not necessarily the way they're prepared, it's just the potato itself. And in addition, potatoes are really bad for sugar problems. People that are diabetic and sugar issues, potatoes have the same glycemic index as a bowl of sugar. So a white potato definitely affects sugar.
Yeah, if you think about it, take that white bowl of sugar she was talking about. Okay, that bowl of sugar, let's cut it in half. Half of it is glucose, the other half is fructose. Now, glucose does not taste sweet at all, and that's your potato. Now, the other half is your fructose, which tastes really sweet, and that's all the sweet stuff you eat. Sugars and other sugars and stuff, So,
What about sweet potatoes?
Sweet potatoes they're okay, and you do want, and if you boil them, it does take a lot of the sugar out. But sweet potatoes are better for the inflammatory process, and there's a lot of fiber in sweet potatoes. And any foods that have higher fibers are definitely better for the gut, because fiber is, people talk about prebiotics.
Right.
That's fiber.
And prebiotics is fiber. So prebiotics is all your different fibers are prebiotics, and it feeds your good bacteria to make that better. And that is definitely one of the things you can do for leaky gut, is prebiotics, probiotics, digestive enzymes.
They're big.
Yeah. and digestive enzymes are really big. And we actually use something to heal the gut called GI Essentials. And those together will definitely help leaky gut when you take away the cause.
All right.
Yep.
Okay, we got about a minute left in this break. Let's go ahead and take this question. Can you take too many antibiotics?
Oh, definitely.
No doubt, and because remember that's one of the drugs, if you will, that we talked about leading up to leaky gut. And you get these people that are habitual about every sniffle they have or whatever, they run to the doctor and get an antibiotic. And yeah, you're setting yourself up for failure. I mean, there's no doubt about it. You take way too many antibiotics, and you're not replacing the good bacteria.
And antibiotics can be life-saving.
They can be.
And when you absolutely need an antibiotic, you need them. There's no doubt. But people take them way too often.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you keep your immune system strong and you stay healthy where you don't need an antibiotic all the time.
Well, I've heard people say that you could take antibiotics, to kill the bad stuff in you. It also kills some of the good stuff.
It does, definitely.
Antibiotics.
Right.
Definitely.
All right, 896-0713 or 800-349-0713. We got one more break coming up, and as well as our special of the week. It's 18 minutes after 9 o'clock on this Monday morning. We'll be right back. It's 20 minutes after 9 o'clock. It's our final segment of this morning's Doctor's Nutrition Show. Let's go ahead and look at what our special of the week is this week.
And it's the GI Essentials, right, that Janine talked about, because it's got everything in it to actually help heal that gut. It's got your prebiotics, it's got your the herbs and stuff that are known to increase the mucus, which is a very protective thing for the gut. And it's got glutamine, which is the amino acid that helps the little villi of the lining of the gut grow stronger and bigger.
Yeah, the herbs that are in it are the deglycerized licorice, the slippery elm, the marshmallow root. And at the same time, it has a type of a zinc called zinc carnosine. And zinc carnosine is known to heal the lining and even help with ulcerations. GI Essentials, we use it for leaky gut, but we also use it for anybody that has Crohn's or ulcerative colitis or any chronic diarrhea problems. I mean, it definitely helps with healing the gut as a whole. And it really is easier to take. It's a powder rather than taking everything separate, because it would be a lot of different pills, because there's a lot in there. And it has a berry flavor, so it actually tastes really good.
Yeah, it really does.
So it doesn't taste bad either, and it does have a little aloe. And so, like I said, you do have a lot of different things in there to help heal the gut. Now, one of the other things that can help heal the gut that's not in the GI Essentials is colostrum. And colostrum, we have a colostrum powder, and that also is really good at healing the gut. So for the problem as a whole, you want to definitely take away the problem. You want to do your probiotics, prebiotics, and there is a little prebiotics in the GI Essentials, and then digestive enzymes, and then heal the stomach with something like the GI Essentials. So it never hurts. That's why I say you don't absolutely have to test for it, because all those things are really good for gut health anyway.
Right.
So just healing the gut and making the gut better as a whole.
Okay. Question from a viewer, diverticulitis, is this connected to leaky gut?
Not directly.
Not direct. I mean, it's a different problem in the intestines, and there's no doubt diverticulitis. It's little pouches that form in the intestines where they can actually, when it's itis, there's diverticulosis, which is just the pouches. Itis is when they actually get infected and inflamed. Now, there's no doubt if there's an infection in there, and it gets the infection itself can lead to leaky gut.
No doubt.
But it doesn't always have to go together.
Okay. Another question, can you take too many probiotics?
Well, you'd have to try.
It takes a lot. Now you do find people sensitive to probiotics sometimes.
You're sensitive to the strains of probiotics.
Right.
Is probably the key.
Exactly.
Because there's like thousands of different strains of bacteria in our gut. And I mean, the research on it, has over the past 10 years is just mind-boggling at the various number of species of bugs they find in our gut.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think there's more of them in our gut than there are cells in our body, that's kind of spooky, really.
Yeah, and it does.
Say that's kind of scary.
Yeah,
and
but
we actually have a really strong, probiotic that it's really good. It's actually 350 billion per serving.
Right.
So that's a lot of probiotics, and most people do really well with it. So, most people, high majority, 90-something%, I would say, are fine with higher dose probiotics. Every once in a while you find somebody, and it's probably the probiotic that they've taken. It's probably one of the strands or something that their body don't do well with.
Yeah.
But it's rare that we get somebody that can't take the high dose, but occasionally you
I
can
take I take the Flora 50B.
Yep,
It's 50 billion.
which is 50
Right.
billion, and it's 8 different strands.
Yeah, and I have no problems whatsoever.
Like I said, we have a bunch of different strengths. You don't, the really, really, really low ones to me aren't enough. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the key. The question was, can you take too many? Probably the problem is you can not take enough.
most people don't take enough.
That's because we don't eat things like fermented foods anymore. Like
Sauerkraut.
sauerkraut. I mean, we used to make that stuff. and eat it,
Although for leaky gut, sometimes too much
they're not good.
is not good on the fermented foods.
Right.
Yes, and
Right.
so, yes, you can. And even when leaky gut's really bad, sometimes people don't handle the probiotics, and those people that don't
Right.
handle them are probably the people with a severe leaky gut. And then the soil-based organisms are a better way of going, which is a different type of probiotic.
Right.
It's still a probiotic, but it's a little bit different the way it colonizes. So, or doesn't colonize. I should say, or doesn't colonize. Or somebody with like SIBO has to sometimes change a little bit of what they do for the probiotics. So it really depends on the person.
Okay. Well, someone says, is onions and corn a part of the nightshade vegetables?
No.
Okay.
Are they?
No.
Nope.
But corn is not a vegetable.
Yeah, it's a grain.
It's a grain.
Now, onions are one of the better prebiotics. When
Right.
you're talking about prebiotics, onions and garlic are 2 of your big
They have-
prebiotics.
That's right. So don't pick them purple onions out of your salad.
No.
So actually,
I love those.
onions are really beneficial as a prebiotic for the stomach. Now, corn, on the other hand, is a grain.
Yeah.
And a lot of the grains are what can cause issues in some people, because even though corn gluten is different, there is gluten in corn, but it's corn gluten, it's not wheat gluten.
It is
Yeah.
it is gluten. Period. I mean, they use it.
But no,
actually,
neither are nightshade vegetables.
Right. I mean, people talk about corn and not having gluten. Well, it has gluten because actually you can get a pre-emergent that's used in organic farming or organic vegetable growing, and it's to keep seeds from sprouting like weeds, and it's corn gluten. You just spread it on the ground, the seeds can't germinate. So
I was watching a cooking show yesterday, I admit, and they were cooking some great dishes with Vidalia onions.
Yeah.
oh yeah,
And
big old boys.
Yeah.
Around here, you can get Vidalias,
I
that's
know,
for sure.
I know, and it looked really, really good.
Now, I start almost everything we eat started with onions.
Uh-huh.
Onions and garlic.
I was going to say
garlic.
onions and garlic.
Onions and
Yeah,
garlic
yeah.
is
What else
start
you got there?
everything.
You
But
got
that really
onions and
is
garlic.
really good prebiotics, which will feed your good bacteria. And that is, that's so important. And we've always said on this show, in different shows, health starts at the digestive tract. If you don't have a healthy digestive tract, you're not going to be healthy in general. So that's why you have to heal the gut. You got to get that gut functioning. You got to get your good bacteria built up. That's why so many people, after they have taken something to kill off the good bacteria, they just keep getting sick over and over, because 75 to 80% of your immune system is your good bacteria. So it's just very important. So you want to feed it well too, and you don't want things that kill it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Quick question here. What can you take instead of medications for acid reflux?
Digestive enzymes, which
That's
we talked
usually the
about, yeah,
biggie.
helps you digest your food better. And that way you don't tend to get the reflux if you digest it properly.
Right.
Okay. Well, we appreciate everyone with all your questions this morning, and hopefully if you have any issues with leaky gut or know somebody that does, you can pass all this information to them, or you can go back and watch the show again.
Right. Or give us a call.
Or give them a call. The phone number's on your screen there if you want to give them a call sometime. And whenever you do go by there, just remember, you don't need an appointment. Sorry, a reservation. You don't need an appointment, and you can find a lot of great information on their website as well as on the Doctor's Nutrition Facebook page. Have a great week. We'll see you next Monday morning here on the Doctor's Nutrition Show.
For more information on highlighting your business and services on Healthy Living South Mississippi, contact Jim Tabor at 896-1313.